Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel. I am Arthur, Skyrim veteran that decided to share some of his original character builds here on YouTube while waiting for the next slowly approaching Elder Scrolls game. In this video, I am very excited to share what I imagine to be the Empire's true counter for the Stormcloak Rebellion, and their fierce leader, Ulfric Stormcloak, the son of the legendary warrior, and a powerful tongue known as Hogue Merkler. So, without further ado, let's get right into the story of the Empire's greatest warrior, the Tongue of Cyrodil. He was born into a small and humble farmer family that lived in the suburbs of the great imperial city and swore loyalty to the Empire. This family seemed ordinary at first, but in reality they weren't just mere farmers. In truth, the father of the family was one of the last remaining members of the Blades and had been given some land by the Emperor so he could live out the rest of his life in peace while hiding from the Thalmor. Tongue of Cyrodil, ever since he learned to walk, spent most of his childhood helping his father with the farm. Already at the age of 6, he had learned the meaning of hard work and acquired enough strength to manage most tasks by himself. This didn't go unnoticed by the father for long, who, impressed by his son's growing power, decided to start teaching him how to defend himself. Soon, the Tongue of Cyrodil spent all his evenings training with sword and shield, trying to defeat his father, who as a former blade easily won every time. Even if the Tongue of Cyrodil was a quick study, it took him over a year of hard training to land even one strike on his father. Life was simple and continued as such until Tongue of Cyrodil turned 13 years old, and his father received a letter, sent in secret by the Emperor Titus Mede II himself, who summoned both Tongue of Cyrodil and his father to the White Gold Tower. Father declared that refusing the summoning of the Emperor was not an option, and that they would depart at once. When the two arrived to the White Gold Tower, they were surprised to be greeted by a Moth Priest who immediately recognized the Tongue of Cyrodil. Moth Priest explained that he had seen the young boy's future when he had read one of the Elder Scrolls. He had seen the boy be chosen by the Greybeards and learn the thumb well enough to surpass even the old masters themselves. Moth Priest clarified that Imperial generals believed this to be the edge they had been looking for against the Stormcloak Rebellion and their leader, Ulfric Stormcloak, who also had been chosen by the Greybeards and trained as their student at High Hrothgar. Moth Priest stated that Tongue of Cyrodil would be trained by the best Imperial masters, and that the White Gold Tower would be his new home until he had finished his training. Tongue of Cyrodil glanced at his father, who just placed a hand on his shoulder and told him to fill his destiny and destroy the rebellion. From that point forward, the Tongue of Cyrodil no longer worked on the farm. He spent all his time training and studying, preparing for the day when he would be sent to Skyrim to fill his destiny. Training lasted for years, and it was hard and brutal. But eventually, Tongue of Cyrodil passed all challenges and earned the name Dragon of the Empire. With the training completed, he was finally ready to leave Cyrodil behind and go after Ulfric. But before doing so, he wanted to visit his father one last time. When he arrived to the farm, he was horrified to find it ruined and his father dead. He used the connections he had made in the White Gold Tower to find out that Thalmor had somehow figured out his father's true identity and therefore killed him. Dragon of the Empire buried his father before heading to Skyrim. He still believed his destiny to be to stop the rebellion, but the Thalmor had now become his true enemy. When Tongue of Cyrodil arrived to the border of Skyrim, he couldn't believe his eyes. He hadn't even crossed the border, but he was already face to face with Ulfric Stormcloak himself, who had already been captured and sentenced to death. Tongue of Cyrodil refused to accept that all his training had been for nothing and challenged Ulfric to a single combat. He presented himself as the Dragon of the Empire and demanded the Imperials to free the leader of the Stormcloaks. When the Imperials refused, the Tongue of Cyrodil stated that it was his destiny to defeat him. and then tried to free Ulfric himself. This was seen as treason, and he was captured along with the rebels and seated next to Ulfric Stormcloak himself on a wagon heading to Helgen. This is where your journey as the Tongue of Cyrodil begins. While captured, he had no doubt that his father's killers had somehow stopped the information of his arrival from reaching Skyrim.
Damn elves. I bet they had something to do with this.
Once you escape Helgen, head to Solitude as soon as possible and report to General Tullius. Tongue of Cyrodil was raised amongst Imperial generals, so he has learned to look at the bigger picture. He understands that having a rebellion is weakening the Empire from within, and that is exactly what the Thalmor wants. For that reason, Tongue of Cyrodil decides to continue his mission, even if he was nearly killed by his fellow Imperials upon his arrival to Skyrim. When you visit Castle Dour, make sure to begin the quest gift of Kinnereth to obtain Lord's Mail, and don't forget to grab the Imperial Dragon Armor. Tongue of Cyrodil will use the Imperial Dragon Shield, boots and gauntlets to boost his fire resistance and melee damage. Imperial Dragon Gauntlets combined with the perk Deadly Bash make the Imperial Dragon Shield a lethal weapon that deals damage equal to your sword. In battle, your ideal goal is to keep the enemy off balance by shield bashing, using Fire Breath and dealing power swings. Fire Breath is the main shout for the Dragon of the Empire, and for that reason I recommend learning all 3 words and meditating on it with Paarthurnax, even if usually you are able to stagger foes with just the first word alone. For the helmet, I decided to choose the one-of-a-kind Imperial helmet. Its black mane goes hard with the Lord's Mail, not to mention its red Imperial-colored neck that fits perfectly the detailing of your armor. Finally, to take blocking even further, I chose to wear Amulet of Stendarr on my playthrough, role-playing it to be something he was given by his late father. Tongue of Cyrodil will use this combination of armor in battle to present himself as the Dragon of the Empire, despite having lost his military rank while trying to free Ulfric Stormcloak. But I recommend carrying an alternative armor, or as I did, just a pair of clothes with you, since there are moments in the game when the effect of the Lord's Mail is a problem, like brawling or training with Vilkas when joining the Companions. Talking about factions, Tongue of Cyrodil is driven by his hate towards the Thalmor, and for that reason joining the notorious elf-slaying Companions, or the College of Winterhold, and fighting Ancano fit the character perfectly. Also, Thieves' Guild can be justified as preparing to sneak into Thalmor Embassy. Only faction that you can't join is the Dark Brotherhood, and for that reason the Dragon of the Empire will destroy it in order to protect the Emperor. And now into the stats and perks of the Tongue of Cyrodil. Most important skills for this character are block, one-handed, and heavy armor. That being said, let's begin with your left hand. In block, you'll want every perk except for quick reflexes. While I love this perk, my personal opinion is that it's meant for dual-wielding characters alone. Without the perk, blocking is much more fun, since you can learn to time your blocks so well that it actually resembles parrying. Next on to your right hand. In one-handed, you only need 7 perks, which are all 5 in Armsmen: Fighting Stance and Savage Strike. In heavy armor, get all 5 in Juggernaut, everything from the left side. From the right, Well-Fitted and Tower of Strength. Tongue of Cyrodil is a pure melee build, and for that reason I completely ignored Magicka. By level 30, your health should be on 300 and stamina around 200. Lastly, if you plan on playing past level 30, I recommend learning smithing and enchanting to improve your gear. But I found the build to be very strong, even without any enhancements. And with that, we are ready to wrap up the build. My goal is to present interesting characters that inspire you to play Skyrim again. Let me know what you think about the build and what kind of characters you would like to see in the future. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss on any of my future videos. Take care, and I'll see you in the next story.